Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So it is the final day. It's Happy New Year, by the way. Happy New Year. Today's the final day of Kwanzaa officially. So today is a day focused around faith. Um, but again, I'm a day out. I'm a day out. I'm a day late and a dollar short, as they say. So because of that, I'm still officially on the day 6 practice, which is focused around creativity. And the word for day 6, and the practice for day 6 is Kuumba. Kuumba, creativity, Kuumba. So, one of my favorite spreads. I like purpose, I like creativity, I like unity. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So, I mean, I like all of them ultimately because I do them every year, but this one is always exciting. And this year was no less surprising than other years, but I think perhaps more surprising in ways I was not expecting. I can explain. But first, these are the prompts. The first is my special area of creativity. The second, how I currently express my creativity. The third, how my creativity honors my ancestors. 4, how my creativity promotes unity. Very important factor there. Number 5, how my creativity beautifies my community. Number 6, how my creativity benefits my community. And number 7, how I can be more creative. Very interesting. So the first thing I want to note here is that for whatever reason, and I swear I did use the whole deck, which is evident because at least 2 of the cards are not majors, but 5 of the 7 cards today came out as majors. And it was really surprising. If I were reading for someone else, the first thing I would point out to them is when I see this number of majors popping up, there is, I'm not exactly a validation, but, well, maybe a little bit of a validation, but certainly it's pointing to the fact that the person is in need of walking their path or is walking their intended path, right? You see the majors pop up when there's something critical to a person's path, that is a part of their path, that is important to their path, that maybe something that is important to if they have a high amount of transpersonal factors, in their human design chart, for example, right, that points them to a life purpose that is more transpersonal than personal, or where the transpersonal feels personal or becomes personal. It's because it's a part of their path. So where the cards in the spread relate to you through the majors, there's usually something very important about your personal path. If the cards that relate to others are then in the majors, there's something, there's an element of the transpersonal and the fact that your path, your personal path is something that has a powerful impact on others. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's also beautiful. It's a beautiful path. I wouldn't change it. I could have chosen something for myself in life, before incarnating that would have been more simple and easy, but really it's not so bad. It's really, there's more good than anything. So as much as I've kind of spent time recently, reflecting on how difficult 2021 was, and I had spent a lot of time reviewing how difficult 2020 had been, there's so many beautiful things that have come about as a result of the difficulty in both of those years, that I'm choosing to view as really helpful in terms of being able to move forward and really constructive in the long run, really constructive. So in terms of like the alchemical process of putrefaction in Negretto, there's a lot here. There's a lot here to work with. There's a lot of mud for that lotus, so to speak. So the first prompt, I feel like I want to just trace through this because this path to me feels very clear today. So the first card for my special area of creativity, we have the shaman. So, Courtney writes about how, the shaman rests inside the void. There's no north, south, east, west, etc., but the cosmos. So she points out that the cosmos is the shaman's crown, etc., etc. And this is my birth card as well. The high priestess or the shaman in this deck. And it's very true. That is a large part where a lot of my creativity comes from generally. And it's often the best creativity that I have as an artist, as a teacher, as a human being, usually comes from that space. It's my favorite space from which to draw. Not literally draw as in writing and drawing with a pencil, but because I can't really actually. It's not my area. But, in terms of, drawing something out, to draw from a well or a depth, that is my favorite place to draw from, creatively speaking. The second card, the prompt is how I currently express my creativity. This was fascinating. This one just took me a minute, but I then realized I really understood quickly how that applies. Is through the Justice card. So how does that come about? Because I don't do anything legal. I'm not, I don't teach anymore. At least I don't at the moment. I'm not, well, I will be soon actually, because I'm going to be pulling together some videos, but, because that part of me is one I love very much and love to nurture. But the Justice card in this case, it feels to me as though it is, it's about bringing balance to things. So drawing, I'm using the creativity of drawing from those depths to draw together balance, to bring things into balance, to bring them into balance in my own life, to help others bring them into balance. I do that through my practice as a doula. I do it through my practice as a healing touch practitioner, and in some ways, as someone sitting behind a desk in an office, in the chiropractor's office, because people stop and they talk to me, and sometimes they'll talk to me all the way through the next person's appointment. It happens a lot. And I feel I do this too as a tarot reader. It's always my purpose is to help people find balance and strength, and courage so that they can find a way to move forward in their lives that feels authentic, grounded, peaceful, happy, hopefully peaceful and happy, but at least authentic, if nothing else, authentic and empowered. And I feel like, I have not, over the last 2 years, I have really done very little by means of creativity. Anybody who was around my channel in 2019 knows that I used to be a major like bookmaker, and I was constantly creating something physical, working with ceramics, creating, just all sorts of stuff. I had a show in 2019. I had a fiber show that I contributed to. I had pottery sales and pottery shows, and there was a lot going on. And then all of a sudden with 2020, it felt like my creativity dried up. And that's how I felt for a long time. And what this spread is telling me is that that's not the case. It just was used in a different fashion. It just became useful in another way. And that is really validating, because I don't feel like my creativity is dried up. I still feel highly creative. It's just that I often feel at the end of the day that it's been drained, that it's gone, There's nothing left. Well, there may not be anything left to make something with, right? Or to have some great creative inspiration about. But to apply that creativity towards more practical matters, that's beautiful. I love that. If it helps to, what was this again? Yeah, currently expressing creativity. If it helps to bring reason and rationale and balance and equanimity and calm to someone else's life, it's definitely in harmony with my application of creativity. That is what I want for my creative energy, no matter how it's expressed, right? No matter how it's expressed. The third question, how my creativity honors my ancestors. Well, looky what we got here. It's the death card. Again. So this one to me is multifaceted. As always, I could read so much of what Courtney has written about each of these that applies, because there are so many things. But this may be because I was able to really sit with this and it just all drew together into a narrative. I figured today I would follow that narrative. So with the death card, what I sense here, what I glean from what she wrote, it's multi-layered in terms of honoring ancestors. In terms of how I currently work, it honors my ancestors by helping myself and others to clear away what's no longer necessary from our lives in order that something new can grow. And it means confronting difficult things in our lives, which it often is the case, right? When I work with people at the office, people don't come to the chiropractor even when they are generally very well, right? Even when generally their wellness is at a high level, they're not always coming there because they feel whole. And frequently they are feeling quite broken. And it just hits a point where it's like, oh, I've got to go this week or this month. And I've been there long enough now that I know a lot of our patients pretty well, or they're very familiar with me and they trust. So they will talk to me about the things that they're clearing out, the things that are painful to them. Frequently that does involve death. I can think of numerous patients we have right now who are confronting death, where, being someone willing to talk about that in order, because of being willing to sit in that space, right, as the shaman, as the high priestess, and then use the creativity from that space to help restore balance, to these individuals where it's desperately needed. That is honoring my ancestors and their purpose for me on some level. I think it was, I had an astrology reading with Julianne Victoria the last 2 years. I didn't do it this year. I did my Vedic chart in 2020, and we did my Western chart in 2019. And there's a huge emphasis there on, of course on death, but a lot of that is not a past life thing. It's a this life thing. Those are not the gifts of a past life. They're the gifts of the current life. So, fulfilling that purpose in the current life is very important. It's very important. It's important to me. It's important to other people. But when I really look at it from that perspective of taking something that's old and worn out, which is something I like to do in my artwork, actually. I do that a lot. Taking old clothing, taking old stuff. I'm wearing a pair of pants right now, or jeans that feel like pajamas. They're so old, but I've patched them really as beautifully as I can, with other fabrics and things so that I can continue wearing them. And because I enjoy that process, right? That's taking the old and transforming it, or taking something that is dead and worn out and finding the way to turn it into the next thing. Think compost, right? Think compost. So if we're all composting the things that are old, that are no longer necessary, and choosing to confront that, move it on, and so that we can do something else, that I'm grateful to know that is something that helps to honor my ancestors. I really am. Interestingly, too, I have a desk that belongs to an ancestor that is not presently in the house, but it's it's really just in terrible condition. It's in my parents' basement, like in their storage space. We found it this summer, And I immediately looked at it and said, gosh, that is so beautiful. Where did this come from? Whose is it? And it was one that my mom rescued out of a barn. It had belonged to, I want to say her name was her great aunt Caddy. It was my mom's great aunt, but it was a library table. And she enjoyed having that library table in her office with a light, and she would do all of her research and reading and writing on that table. And so I'm hoping this year at some point to get to my mom and dad's and refinish that table and bring it back here, because I would really, really love to have that table. Another way, that is an act of creativity, but one which, honors this process. So there we go. Then we get the next card, which is that 3, 4? How my creativity promotes unity. This was really stunning. So this is Lil Gourd, or the Page of Cups. And what I get from this one is it allows people to really open their heart. Something about the way that I work creatively in conversation, in dialogue, in writing, possibly with that Justice card, through words, etc. It inspires others to open their heart. And when we open our hearts, we're immediately in touch with something that's bigger than we are. And when we can see ourselves and see others through that place, which is itself, of course, extremely innocent and universal, unity is immediate. We know that we are part of something bigger that includes everyone around us, that includes those we love, those that we don't know, and maybe hopefully one day a greater understanding of those that we think we might hate, in order to recognize their connection as part of the whole, and that we aren't separate from it. Then we get to number 5, how my creativity beautifies my community. And here we have the Rider, or the Chariot. So the way it benefits my community, it would seem, is that it inspires others to be their best selves and to be willing to drive themselves forward and toward a greater purpose, a higher purpose. And when we do that, it does bring beauty to the world in any form. Whether it's we got to think about beauty as something that goes beyond the visual, right? Beauty comes from all sources and all places, but most of all, it comes from within. This space here is beautiful, right? This Lil Gourd space. This is the open heart that sees unity, that sees universal love and potential and growth. And this is taking that forward into the world, right? So how my creativity beautifies the community is by taking this open heart and allowing it to be the driving force in the world. I would say both for myself and for others. When that's what motivates us, it's hard to make anything that's not beautiful. No matter what it is, whether it's a transactional situation at a gas station where you just speak in a way that's loving and humane, in a simple way, to the person behind the counter. I underestimate that. I mean, that's something I love doing every day. I love doing those kinds of things. I love having simple, beautiful interactions with strangers. That connects us through our shared humanity. I never thought of that as a creative act, and it's a huge part of who I am, clearly. And and something to, there's an admonishment in here too, sort of like, this is, you don't value this. You need to value this. Number 6, how my creativity benefits my community. So beautifying the community and benefiting the community. So benefiting the community is the Queen Mother. She's back again today, which I'm so happy about. How does it benefit the community? It benefits the community by making it more fertile, making it more nurturing and nourishing, by bringing more feminine traits to the fore, by making it more supportive. I feel like that's more like awakening that mother and open heart within ourselves that allows for greater compassion. But it also means, too, like planting new things, planting new, how do I want to put this? So the Queen Mother to me is about birthing, planting seeds, bringing things, fertile seeds into the ground, planting them so that they can actually become something. Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. And then the one I really had to sit with for a split second here is the 7 of Blades. So this one is how I can be more creative. Well, I'm not going to be more creative by being more deceptive, right? That's not a way to see it. But if you look closely at this card, you have all these people who are sitting facing this figure that has all the swords and has this one here. And it's impossible to see whether that person is coming or going, whether it's offering or taking, right? But if I'm wanting to be more creative and I can see how all of these are weaving together to form a narrative, then what I see here, is a position of leadership, accountability, being willing to empower. These people have no weapons. There are a lot of weapons here. How can I offer them this? It also speaks to me of truth. How can I offer greater truth, greater honesty, accountability, right? The swords are on display. They're not being hidden. So to me, that's also about being accountable for what I say, what I think, what's going on in my mind, and hopefully offering that, whatever is there for the continued empowerment, growth, and expansion that others might have as well in their own lives. Yeah. So there we go. There's creativity. That was the clearest, most straightforward one for me yet. I don't know. I wish every reading was like this, It usually is for clients. It's rarely that way when I read for myself. So it's a really great blessing. It's a really great blessing when that happens. So, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of this, a lot of this, as a result. All right, friends, I will, be back with, day 7, which is faith or imani, either today or tomorrow. All right, take care. Lots of love to everyone. Bye.